go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions podcast. I'm your host, David Santiago. And today, my guest is Mr. Mark Smith. What's going on, my brother?
Hi, David. How are you, mate? I'm doing very well, thank you.
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for taking out some time to jump on the podcast and chop it up with us.
Absolutely. I've been really looking forward to it for a few weeks now. So I'm ready for you. Whatever you've got.
Likewise, brother. I'll be nice. I'll be nice. Where are you calling from, Mark?
So I live in Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom. So yeah, just in the north of Ireland, basically.
Do you have a lot of competition out there? Are there a lot of other SMP artists out there?
When I started in the industry, there was a large sort of corporate company here in Northern Ireland and some sort of smaller outfits, and it's kind of been a little like that. I think I was the first dedicated clinic on the ground in Northern Ireland, and beyond that now I'm literally hearing about every week a new clinic has popped up. So
okay,
it's a really up and coming treatment, as you know.
Got it. Yeah. The industry is growing at rapid rates. How did you come into the industry?
So long story short, I had a hair transplant back in 2011. I was a graphic designer working in IT for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, actually, but in Belfast.
Okay.
And So basically beyond that, I just wanted to sort of build my confidence up a bit. I had been thinking about hair transplantation or hair restoration for a long time. At the time, I actually seen, which I didn't realize, was Paul Clark, who I'm sure you know. He was on a TV show presenting some SMP. So I did see it back then, but for me, you know, the hair transplant was the way forward. Beyond that, then I had, believe it or not, 6 procedures. So I've had 6 hair transplants over about 7 years. Yeah, and I opened my own clinic. So I opened a little consultation clinic for hair transplants for this international company. And then beyond that, we were running for a little while. I needed to do something actually though that helped me build up some income. That was the honest truth. But immediately when I started it, I fell in love with SMP. And it wasn't very long before I actually dropped the sort of whole hair transplant business, and now I'm solely focused on SMP.
Got it. So you yourself have got 6 hair transplant procedures.
6 hair transplant procedures, yeah.
FUE or FUT?
FUE, all of them.
Do you also have scalp micro-pigmentation to camouflage your scars?
I actually don't. I would love to get it done at some point in the future, but I have done SMP just more to find what the pain sensation was like.
Okay, got you. So now this is interesting. I want to see your perspective on this. So now you are an SMP artist. You're an award-winning SMP artist. How do you, and not only that, you're also a candidate for, well, not a candidate, you were an actual a hair transplant surgery, several. Now knowing those 2 worlds, what would you have done 5-6 years ago?
It's good. It's a good question, and I get asked it actually all the time from the customers as well. Looking back, I definitely think I would have went down the SMP road back then, had it been as good and as I feel it was. You know, nowadays, like you see, a lot of people have these kind of beautiful natural hairlines, and the treatments look really good, and there's a lot of talent out there. Back in the day, I don't think there was that many, and I did go down the hair transplant road, but to be honest, I didn't pay for any of my procedures. I was actually working for a clinic. So on an annual basis, I got that. But back in the day, there was no cheap procedures. So here in Europe, you have some countries that will do very cheap procedures, and you can get a holiday while you're kind of getting them. I'm not going to mention what that is, right? But beyond that, I say that, but you know, I enjoy a good head of hair as well, so I'm quite happy with it. But I will say that there's a lot of side effects with maintaining it. So medications like finasteride,
Right.
minoxidil, those kind of medications can really kind of affect you as you get older as well, and yeah, and the side effects of like little sort of random pains, headaches, all of those things can actually kind of continue on throughout your life,
Which does not happen with SMP.
which does not it doesn't happen with SMP. Exactly.
So do you
Yeah.
find yourself, what happens if you, because as an artist, right, the two of us artists, I've had clients who come for a consultation and we're very transparent, like, I just want to see what SMP could do for me, but I am considering a hair transplant. If you would get a
Yeah.
client like that, what advice do you give them?
It will depend on where they're at. I would never push anybody into micropigmentation if I don't think they're ready for it, or if I don't think they're a candidate. So if I feel that they're better suited to a hair transplant, then I'll definitely recommend some clinics to them and let them go on their way. I would never push anyone. I always find, just be open, be honest. Here's what micropigmentation is good for. Here's what hair transplants are good for. And I think if you can sort of be transparent like that, that's the way I like to come across to the clients.
Outstanding. It's awesome. I didn't expect that we would be opening up the interview like this, because I mean, I just thought you had a full head of hair and you were
Yeah, no.
an artist and you were like, let's go. I didn't know you were part of the whole, like, because in our industry, it's kind of like, don't get a hair transplant, just come get SMP. It's kind of like, yeah, you don't waste your money on that.
Yeah.
So
I actually do think there's a place for both, and there's a lot of bad hair transplant clinics out there. There's a lot of good ones as well, and it's micropigmentation's the same. There's a lot of good clinics and a lot of bad ones, and
true.
I think it's about educating our clientele and our public to
True.
what both are.
Yeah, valid points. There are some, I guess they balance out, because not every picture that you see of scalp micropigmentation is one that makes you go, wow, that's amazing. Some of them are,
Yeah.
they are cringeworthy. So let's get back to you as a scalp micropigmentation artist. How has that been for you in this industry? Like, what's your come up been like?
To be honest, it's been incredible. Whenever I sort of first started into the industry, I had a really good mentoring from two of the sort of really great UK artists, Michael Kumis of Scalpology and Ollie Hughes of Appear Natural. We're running a sort of joint, sort of teamed up duo, and a course with them. Was my initial sort of jump into the industry. I had an opportunity to work with a few other clinics, but those were the kind of guys I chose. And to be fair, they really did mentor me through thick and thin. So I remember I would be working in obscure hours because I had a full-time job at the time. And
Right.
on a Friday night, I'd phone Ollie or phone Michael up, and I'd be like, "Yeah, Mark, what do you want? I'm with my wife having dinner right now," and I'd be like, "Mate, can I ask you a question about SMP?" Yeah. So, but by the time a few months in, they were absolutely sick of hearing me phone them, call them, text them. But they stuck by me and they gave me all the information that I needed. And if I hadn't have had that back support after the training, I honestly don't think I'd still be doing it. But jumping into the industry very quickly, I don't know how I did it, but I did very well coming in. I won some awards. I personally didn't have that confidence back then about the work, but it obviously was resonating with people, and they liked what I was doing. So I was really grateful just to be sort of accepted into the sort of fold into the industry, and it's been brilliant ever since. I've just enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah. How did it, how long did it take for you to establish that confidence that you were like, you know what? Because you went back to like, all right, I got these two mentors that I'm harassing, which we've all been there.
Yeah.
At what point did you feel like you had the proficiency and the confidence to just like, all right, that's it, I got this, I'm ready to, I can do this?
Yeah, I suppose I had a really good section about 6 to 9 months in. I think once I'd sort of got to around client, sort of somewhere between client 20 and 30, I was kind of in a zone, and I would just remember working, and I had the lighting right in the room. I had my little system for how I started and completed and the breaks that I would take. And it just all started coming together. I'd even sort of started playing around with how I designed my own hairlines and how I would make them kind of as feathered as I could make them at that time. And I think around that sort of 6 to 9 month mark, I hit a real nice kind of sweet spot. And from then on in, it was really nice. But for me, it was about getting onto skin and just working as much as I could and getting as many of the R's in on skin. It was so important.
Got you. What's an early experience, an early lesson that you learned due to a particular experience, whether it was good or bad in your, in the beginning stages?
Yeah. I suppose the biggest lesson I learned with micropigmentation was patience, and not to go all gung ho too soon, not to be too bold too soon. Stick to your training, stick to what you're taught. If you have a problem, mostly common sense should prevail, and that's kind of what got me through it, I think. You can very easily make a mistake and there's no way back from it. So, cautious approach every time was the way to go. And eventually someone somewhere will tell you, you know what, you've got it. You don't need to worry about it. You can go a bit more kind of go a shade darker if you can be that bit more confident, or you can do certain things. And I think that was the lesson for me, was just to always, go back to your training, be patient, and not be afraid to do an extra session when you need to.
Awesome. That's a great mindset. Now, what would you consider to be one of the best compliments that you've ever received from a client?
The best compliment actually I received was, to me, probably yesterday. Believe it or not. Yes.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So the guy, this gentleman, had some really bad scarring, a very large oval shape sort of scar, horrific, and for him. And he's been living with that scar for many years, some sort of tragic accident. He's had metal plates installed, and just
like really a cranial plaque or something like that, huh? Like what they removed piece of the skull and put.
Yeah, exactly. They had to put a large plate in. It didn't fit. It had misshapen his head. They actually put another plate in to kind of look a bit more symmetrical, which is still not quite, for in his eyes. I think it was fine. So we finished. He came in and he was very on the fence. He was talking himself out of it. I had walked away and just said, look, I know he'd flown in from Barcelona to Dublin to Belfast. And I said, I realize you've flown in. I realize it's a big deal for you, but I personally think you're not ready today. And I left him to have a good think about it. And, there's no pressure from me. It's not about, getting him started or anything. So he started the session anyway. He was really, really nervous. The hands were kind of folded up around his neck almost, and he was kind of sort of rocking a bit. But once we got the session started, you could see he was very anxious. By the end of it, he was literally going into shock. He was almost shaking.
Too tense.
There was an emotion there. And the minute I got him to the mirror to show him to the mirror, he burst literally into tears. And it was very emotional. Like he couldn't hold back. He couldn't hold back those tears. And I've seen it before. I've had lots of different guys in. I don't know why, but just for whatever reason, this guy broke down. And you could actually see the weight lifted away from him. And it was the most beautiful, amazing moment ever. I think it was just, it honestly made my day. That and yeah, I'll remember it forever. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how did that make you feel? Like, is a moment like that lets you know what you're doing, like the service,
It
like
may,
you're
it, may-
doing
it,
more than just filling in, you know, the
yeah,
scalp with
it's more than dots, what people say, isn't it? It's, you know, you really are restoring someone's self-esteem, their confidence, the way they feel about themselves. And for that guy, you know, it helped him deal with years of hurt, of whatever was going on in his mind. So it's just, it makes you sort of realize that the job's a very worthwhile cause as well as a job,
yeah.
which doesn't feel like, because I
In,
love
in,
it.
in
Yeah,
one session, you removed so much weight off his shoulder that he's probably been carrying
exactly.
for
Yeah.
years. Mark, let me ask you, is there any one artist that you still to this day look for or look up to for like inspiration or motivation? An SMP.
There, yeah, absolutely. There's a good sort of a handful of artists that I always look to for different things. You know, we've got, in, like, for example, here in the UK, my original mentors, I'm always of the highest amount of respect for them. For Ollie and Michael, never forget what they did for me. I've got other folks there like Craig, who's always been a good friend to me, Craig Bottomley. Hi. We've got Paul Clark, we've got Simon Lane, Mark Allen, all of these sort of top sort of guys. And even some of the new guys coming through there have really sort of, you know, they make the industry worthwhile. And in the US, gentlemen like yourself, we've got Jeff, who's brought us into this sort of little sort of these little kind of things going on. We've got Matt Iulo. Matt's a great sort of idol for the industry as well. There's a lot of people up there that to me are on a, you know, I place very highly, and I watch every day what they're doing next. And there's people all over the world like that. You know, Kate in Australia. You've got Caitlin. You've got Ryan. You know, the names just keep kind of
I
falling
always
out.
pose that question just to see, you know, who's that one. But I'm like you, I several of the artists that
I've
you
got a
mentioned.
range, and they're all, you know, when you want some sort of, you know, you get something from everybody.
Yeah,
And I recently went to train there back with a masterclass with Mark Allen. And the way I see it is just every year I'd love to go to, even to someone like come out to yourself, come out to Matt, go out to whoever, Paul, Clark, go see all these different people and see what they've got to offer, because I think everybody has their own set of skills. Everybody has their own thoughts, and there's nothing better than learning off other people.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Now that you bring that up, how do you feel about, because I've spoken with a couple of artists that I don't understand the mindset, but you know, I like to hear, you know, I don't judge.
Yeah.
You know, like what you said, you would like to go around and learn from everyone and, you know, use, you know, take whatever you can from them and put that into your tool bag. But there's a couple of, you know, artists that I've interviewed that feel that once you're already established, if you're still going out there seeking training, is a direct reflection of you just not trusting your skills and capability. Like, what would you?
Yeah, I don't feel like that at all. Like, I think about, like, if you look at a boxer, you know, a boxer going into a big fight, for example, a boxer will learn off other fighters, and even the people that they're fighting, they'll learn something from that fighter. And I think SMP, you know, you gotta kind of look at it that way, that everybody has something in their little tool bag to offer. And yes, you'll get to a point where you'll be very confident and very good at your work. But I always feel like every day is a school day, and you can really learn from something good from one person. You know, if it's one thing that you can go and learn, just one little thing, then it's worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. That one thing can change the whole structure of your
Yeah, and
business.
it doesn't necessarily have to be about the technicality of SMP. It could be some sort of kind of ethos that they have about what they do, or something that they do with their marketing, or it could be something else, that an attitude that they have, or something that they think. It doesn't necessarily have to be the skill itself.
Yeah,
you know.
agree. It could be a fundamental business trade or anything like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So it's always worthwhile. Even going to the likes of the events, I always think that the events are so valuable, and it's not just about the master classes or the talks. It's about the relationships that you make and the people that you meet, and that's where you learn. To me, you learn lots there in that regard. You make friends.
Absolutely. Do you see yourself still active in this industry in the next anywhere 3 to 5 years?
I hope so. I really do hope so. With big plans for our business for expansion, and I've held back for a number of years to really home my skills and home the craft, so that we can kind of move forward with a sort of top level attitude going forward. It's very easy to come in, I think, and dilute what you do quite quickly with other skills or other parts of a business. So for me, making sure I've mastered the skill as best as the best that I can before I move forward and take the business forward is part of that growing process.
Yeah, awesome. What do you see the industry looking like? Oh, sorry. You know what? I got to stop rephrasing it like that because it's kind of like, let me, hey, Mark, are you a psychic? What do you say? What would you like the industry to transform into within the next 3 to 5 years?
Uh, I love the sort of family vibe with SMP. I felt it when I first started 3 or 4 years back, and I went to the very first Scalp conference, which was Damien Porter's meeting of minds.
Gotcha.
It was a really good event for me. I got to meet what I seen back then as the idols. My idols were there. I got to meet all these guys, and I was like, wow, I'm here. I'm meeting
There's
these people. Yeah, it was like SMP royalty. It really was. And going forward, I'd just like to see the industry look after each other and help each other grow rather than any kind of division kind of forming. I think if one thing we could all go forward together, I think it's the best way.
Yeah, outstanding. And so you're sponsored by Follicule and FYT. So I kind of wanted to get into what kind of equipment you use because I get from a lot of the listeners, primarily some of these the new guys or guys and girls that are looking to get into the industry, and they always want to know what tools it is that we're
Yes.
using, and if you get the same pen or pigment as you, they're going to be able to create the same kind of work. But it's a good to know because I remember when I first started, it was like I just want to know what kind of pen he's using because maybe if I buy that. So
Yeah.
I like to ask you, we already know again FYT, right? Those are the needles that you're using, and the pigment is follicule. What machine are you using and why
Yeah.
FYT?
So the machine that I'm currently using is a Microbio Flux S. It's a wireless
Got it.
machine. So it's a machine that I like to use. I like how it's weighted. I previously was using a Cheyenne Hawk pen.
Okay, that's my
So
go-to.
that was like my go-to pen. I loved it. It was still to this day, I look back at it. It's a great device. But for me, I'm a real clumsy guy, and the wires and the leads kind of pulling. I always pulled the ink off the table or something like that, and caused absolute mayhem. So when the wireless kind of machines came along and they were a bit more stable, I think that was kind of there. I'm open to always trying new things. Some artists have some new machines out there I've seen, so I'd love to sort of keep experimenting and
Got them
keep
all
keep
out.
growing.
So now
Yeah,
with the needles, the FYT needles, and they come in various sizes. What
yeah.
is your go-to? Do you just use one needle, or do
Not at all. I'll actually in Northern Ireland, our guys have really bad skin. We have terrible skin. So
is
think
that
about
because of the
fried
environment?
foods and sorry.
I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is that because of the environment?
It probably, we have bad diets.
Oh, bad diets.
We drink a lot and we have bad diets.
Too much wheat.
So yeah, fry ups, chips, you know,
Got you.
Everything's deep fried in lots of fat. So,
all right.
and then we drink lots of alcohol to top it off.
sounds like a pretty good diet to me.
Yeah. So when the guys come in, skin is the first thing that I'm looking at. So what I found with the FYT needles, going down to the sort of very finer needles is good for some of the skin that's angry. The only way I can describe it. It's like looking at anger from one of these kind of Disney or DreamWorks movies, you know, red faced. But like myself, I get a bit like that as well. But I do find that they when they come back and the treatment's settled, they look really nice on that type of skin. Having said that, we've got guys that are out working every day out in the fields or out working in the roads or whatever. I've got good skin, but they've got better skin, and I'll probably ramp up the sort of needle size to an 06, 06 RL or an 08 RL.
That's your go-to. So you go between the 06 and the 08.
They would be my go-tos usually, yeah. And then if I find that the skin's potentially not quite what I'm sort of hoping for, or they've got really fine hair, or they're quite old, I might use a very, very fine needle. Yeah.
Got you. And now with pigment, follicle, were you using follicle first and it was like, man, this thing is amazing, start putting good content out there, and they contacted you, or how did that go?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, so back in the day, Michael Kumas, I think, and Ollie, they were with the training that I went to. They were using I think it was like the baby brother or the baby sister of follicle, which would have been Precision. So I was using that back then, and I was used to the dilution scales. And so I found the follicle a very easy transition, I guess. There's other inks out there that I tried and I felt worked really well also. But at the moment, I know what I'm at with those tools. I know I walk in and I'll put those tools down, and I know what's what. And if I've got a client with a certain type of skin, I can work with the range of needles that I've got, and I know I'm going to find one that works best on that skin, and I know I'm going to find a shade that settles nice with that pigment. So with everything going on, it's a nice trio that I have: the pigment, the needles, and the machine.
Got you. What's a challenge that you're facing right now as an artist or as an entrepreneur in the SMP industry, and how are you going about that? Like, how are you tackling it?
Well, the challenge right now is actually my social media accounts. They're gone.
What just happened to you and social media, man?
Yeah, but in all honesty, posting and being sort of consistent with social media is my biggest challenge, I find. When I'm a busy clinic, and when I'm sure yourself, when you're in that zone and you're working with your clients, you're gone from the business, you're focused on that client. And then there's a small window or a gap for lunch or a little break for some consultations, and you're back into another session before you know it. So actually finding that time, and I'm forcing myself to actually pick up my phone and do some social media and actually kind of stay on it. That's the biggest challenge for me. Always has, always will be.
So I'm going to give you a gem here, because it was a challenge for me too, right? The busier you become is harder, and you want to stay active with social media, because that's at least for me is a big driving force with leads and just clients in general. My videographer put me on. I don't remember the name. I'll get the name and I'm going to send it to you offline. What you can do with this app, super cost effective, you can schedule all your social media posts weeks in advance. So if you take that one day that you pounding that beer and chips, and you just sit there and you put all your information, you put all your, you forecast all your content, brother, it'll do it right there for you. So you can do like a whole month's worth of content in one day, and then go about business, brother. At least your word. So I can
Happy
say that
days.
information if
Sounds good.
I,
Sounds like a great little gem there, mate. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, you'll spend, it's gonna take you maybe like about 2 or 3 hours, but it'll let you have that the rest of the month or the rest of the couple of months, free to you just, conduct the business. What would be one piece of advice you would give yourself as a brand new SMP artist, knowing what you now know?
Learn to say no when the time's right. Yeah,
Learning to say
absolutely.
no. Can you elaborate on that? Because I know I'm pretty sure what you mean is by not accepting certain clients, right?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. For the most part, most people are lovely, really nice clients, nice to deal with, and you can give them some great work. But you will encounter some people over the course of your career that you'd wished you'd never work
Touch.
with. And I don't mean, I don't mean the work itself. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm actually talking about the people themselves and how they are as their attitude and things like that. And sometimes